Hello, and welcome to our very first episode of Upright Dogs. I'm your host, Cody, and beside me is co-host Brandon. What's up?
What's up?
All right, you ready to get this ball rolling?
Yep.
Cool. What we're here to do is we're here to determine cold, hard facts about the Dogman. Apparently, there have been sightings going on for centuries now, and we want to offer our hand to help you out there come up with hard, substantial proof for those of you that's never encountered one of these. So there's a lot of things to talk about today. I'm going to give you a rundown of an incident I had when I was a teenager, and some other things to go along with that, and getting this show up and going. As soon as we start, developing a lot of listeners and subscribers, we want to eventually take the show, take the video to more or less Dogman field work, if you will. We want to be able to possibly, for any sightings here in Texas, that is, for the moment, we got to stay close to home until the money gets right. But for any sightings here in Texas, we would love for you to give us a call, and because we'd like to come out and get you to, if you're able, not still shaking up, get you to take us where you had the encounter. There are many different things out there circulating about the Dogman, and they're questions we have to ask ourselves. Supposedly they've existed for many years. Well, on one hand, you have to ask, how do these things survive? What is the reproduction rate of them? Are they like humans? Where they carry for 5 months or 9 months, before giving birth. How come we're not overrun with them like we are, say, deer or coyotes, etc. That's just one of many questions that we have to ask when we're researching this type of stuff. One Dogman, with an average, according to the sightings and the descriptions of them, one Dogman can go 7 to 9 feet tall and, supposedly weigh between 400 and 800 pounds. Well, let's think about the animal that this thing would have to consume in order to suffice eating needs. All right. I don't know. I'd say a cow. Thing would have to eat a cow every time it goes into a feeding frenzy. What about off seasons? Does it, like when vegetation grows in the spring, this thing would have to wreak havoc on deadgum 5 gardens a day, if you will, to even, have its proper nutrition, whatever. You got that, it's just, there are just multitudes of questions. How come no more of them's been spotted? How come, the others that have never spotted them have not spotted them? Obviously, I'm gonna have to go through the other Dogman researchers, their opinions and what they have to say about it. I'm gonna have to kind of go with their scenarios about maybe perhaps getting quieted down by the government. The government uses, like, for deer hunting, take that for an example. The government uses man in order to keep the deer population at bay. But he gives them a set of laws, of course, so he don't pass them. He don't do things illegally. But man help when a man hunts deer, he helps keep the populations down. Well, I guess we got could possibly have the same thing going on with the Dogman, except they're not letting the civilians get involved, but they're putting their units on it. So every time that you get in one of these encounters and people call it in to the authorities, well, let's just say don't call them, because once it gets turned into the authorities, then a lid's put on it. They send their experts in there, they wipe them out, end of story. They tell the locals to shut their trap, and that's it. And the more and more that we here at Upright Dogs research this, the more and more we are coming to realize that this is the case. They're just simply not allowed to reproduce overabundantly. And, because it is, I've never knew anybody in my life, I'm 47 years old, that's ever encountered one of them. And I'm fixing to tell you shortly about a little just type of sighting that a friend of mine and myself had back when we was teenagers. So for now, though, let's go ahead and keep in mind, if we're ever out and about hiking or camping or whatever, that for now, let's keep in mind and be respectful of wildlife, which it's best to be like that anyways, anytime. But if remember the coyotes, remember the wolves. These are pack hunting animals. So this Dogman is definitely going to fall under, although we're unsure about what specific characteristics it has. It definitely is going to fall under the canine species. But with that being said, let's also look at the fact that this might be a pack hunter. So if you see one, there's probably about at least a 60% chance. I might be not shooting it high enough or a little over, I'm not sure, but I'd say at least a 60% chance that there are more right out there in the shadows. So you need to keep that in mind. Because the predators and hunting packs like that do have their scouts that go out ahead and kind of scope things out for the pack. So the one that you encounter, if you're not seeing more than one, then it's highly possible that is the scout. But it's always best to try to carry a weapon. I can't emphasize on that enough. And we here at Upright Dogs, it's in our bylaws that we shall never do any of this investigation or field work alone. Matter of fact, we're going to recommend to you out there, as we here are going to do 4 men, at least a 4-man team. I wouldn't say you have to carry it quite as far as we're going to, but I've got fire teams training, and I am also going to teach my crew about fire teams. I'm going to teach them some fire teams tactics. So when we're out in the field, we can protect each other as a unit and maybe survive if we ever do get a chance to get one of these boogers on film or on video film. I can't believe I went that far back. But anyways, so yeah, I would recommend, if you go do any kind of camping or hiking in the woods, that you do the buddy thing. And not go by yourself. It's wise anyway. I mean, even if you go out by yourself and you're like, forget this dude, he's crazy, and then you go out by yourself, I mean, what if you simply just break your leg or hurt yourself where you can't get to a place where you can get any help? See, so for that alone, it's good to have a buddy, But anyways, I've got a lot of hunting experience. Grew up hunting, and so the crew that I've got with me, majority of them are the same, but we are going to hopefully get to go investigate some of these sightings pretty soon and see if we can come up with some concrete evidence. I've got a little story to tell about what happened to me in my teenage years. A friend of mine, we used to be into Bigfoot back then. Okay, this is quite a few years ago. I think we were somewhere in the age bracket of 13 or 14 years old, both of us, about the same age. But we used to be. He kind of got me into it. He was a Bigfoot fanatic, and he kind of started trying to tell me, and I was a little laughy about it at first, hesitant about hearing anything, and just passed it off as silly. But I got to where I started getting open-minded about it, so I started listening to him, and pretty soon he had me going. I was wide open then. Well, him and me used to do a lot of hunting together, and we would fish, hunt, fish, whatever. We did it together. We loved those outdoors. Well, there was a place in Mississippi, which I will leave unnamed, and it was a popular place in the area, to go hunting. And I'll just tell you this: it was originated back in the Civil War days, and they used this area to give help to wounded soldiers, because there was a natural source of water coming out of a little hill there. There was a spring water. But one Saturday morning, I think, we got on our four-wheelers with our shotguns, and we're going to go do some deer hunting in this area. And we got off. We started walking down the little road there, the little trail, and of course this is deer season, so that's primarily what we were going for. But as your typical hunter that might feel like eating something different, that fella, he or she might just accidentally might get something else along the way. So sure enough, we're walking, and a turkey lit up in a tree ahead of us. It was a pretty tall tree, so it was up in that tree pretty good. Well, any hunter knows that the higher that you have to aim your gun, the more it changes the trajectory of the travel of the bullet or the shots or whatever. Well, it took us about 4 attempts to finally get that sucker to fall out of that tree, and I had an old Mossberg 12-gauge pump, and I think he had a Browning Auto, but about 2 shots each, and that thing finally fell out. But it wasn't turkey season, so we were kind of a little nervous then. We grabbed the turkey, we hit it up, and kind of went up this hill, kind of to the right of the side of this trail. We decided we're going to bury it. And then, just buried in leaves, not in dirt, but we were just going to cover it in leaves. So, wasn't really thinking about animals, but in case game warden or something come through, we was going to try to hide it. But so we continued walking down this trail, and there was a big print in the sand in this, in the middle of this trail. Well, we automatically thought cat. Because, when I say a big print, I mean this thing was like 4 to 5 inches in diameter. No claw marks, just padded, just pads. That was the only thing that left the imprint. And, that's what we thought initially at first. But then we got to looking, and I said, Brad, you notice what I noticed? And he goes, well, what do you mean? I'm like, there's only 2 of them. There's not 4 of them. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. You know, this is what he tells me. Well, you know, if a dog, if a cougar or whatever, if it's just in a regular walking stride, you know, the faster that the animal runs, the more it pulls its hind leg up to the front leg on where they hit when they're in stride. Well, you know, the back foot should be semi-close to the front foot, just in a walking stride, but not necessarily, you know, in it, but at least close to it. It wasn't there. There was no back foot, you know, no indication of 2 back legs. So, I mean, we did enough, you know, Bigfoot research that we definitely knew it wasn't a Bigfoot. And then not thinking about way back then, because we were younger, because I've never even heard of the Dogman back then. So, you know, we didn't think of that. But it still was kind of freaky because, you know, I guess somewhere in the back of our minds, we still hadn't fully dismissed that this is a cat. Even though we went through what, you know, the discussion about there's just only 2 tracks. So that was enough to really change our mind about wanting to hunt that day. So we turned around, started walking back up the road in which we came in on, and got to the spot where we buried the turkey and walked up the hill. I kind of broke off from Brad because I went over here to take a leak. So I stopped just short of where we had the turkey buried under the leaves. So he went on to the turkey, and so I'm standing there taking my little whiz, and he's looking down the other side of that hill. So both of our backs are together, and I was trying to talk to him, and I noticed he wasn't saying anything back. Well, I got done with my peeing, you know, turned back around and walked over to him and said, "Hey, you hear me, dude? Yo, what's up?" And he said, "Did you say that?" And I saw the direction he was looking, and I'm like, "What? No, I didn't see nothing. I was talking to you and with my back turned." He goes, "There was something standing right down there about 6.5 or 7 feet tall, and with his back turned to me." And I'm like, "Okay, are you getting a little crazy on me, buddy?" Well, the seconds passed, and then his body language, the sincerity in his body language, the way he acted, started kind of concerning me, because you know, at first, you know, I thought he might be just full of caca, but yeah, with as the seconds passed, you know, his body language was starting to concern me. So I'm like, we walked down to where he claims he saw it, and sure enough, there was some disturbance in the leaves right there where the thing was standing. Now, at that point, we didn't bother to try to pull leaf to see if it left an imprint. We started running. And it was probably a good thing we already had our guns in our hand, because they probably would have got left. The turkey surely got left, but the guns probably would have got left too. And I could have promised you I wasn't going back to get that sucker if I did leave it. It would take a while. But so yeah, we got back to where our 4-wheelers were. And we got a hold of, you know, it's been so long ago, I can't remember if we got a hold of one of our parents or whatever and had them call the I think it was the deputy sheriff. The deputy sheriff got us to and went to the entrance where we had our 4-wheelers parked, and we didn't go in. I mean, we stayed out there. We wasn't going back in there. You know, what we described to them was really talking about the cat track. And, you know, that area is kind of close to a lake, and where, you know, where a beach is, where a lot of kids play. So, we was kind of telling them about that track, because like I said, we didn't know about the Dogman back then. But here recently, I saw one of the Cryptid Brothers shows, and where they were hunting for it, and that was the exact same track that Brad and I saw that day we went hunting. But we got, him and I got to talking later on that what must have happened was whatever that was he saw must have been at the same time caught the whiff of that bird that we buried in the leaves and started making its way toward that bird as we were walking down the road on to hunt. And when we saw that track and then, turn back around, we think we caught that thing on its way to the turkey, but, much to his surprise is he didn't know we were turning back that fast. So we think the thing was actually on the way to that bird. But yeah, that was even though I never really, I never saw what he saw, his sincerity was enough for me to run right with him. So we're not sure what that was, but I know the track that I see now on the Cryptid Brothers show, and that was the exact same track. So I think he had more of the Dogman encounter than I did, but with both of us still together had that encounter. So I just wanted to pass that on. I've never really talked about that until I started watching the Cryptid Brothers show, but yep, there it is. And now I would like to thank Lance Hightower and the boys at Cryptid, because now it's inspired me to do my own channel and try to do some investigative research, field work on trying to get some proof for the viewers out there that this thing is legit. It's there. And, like I was saying earlier in the show, I think that people are just when they spot one, they're turning it into the wrong people. When you turn it into the authorities, you just messed it up. So we got to try to get you viewers to call in to people like myself or the Cryptid Brothers on your sightings, so we can kind of take it from there, because the people have a right to know. If something like this lives amongst us, that in our world that we've been living in all of our years, however many years we've been in breathing, then we have a right to know. You have a right to know. Is this thing legit? So we hope you stay tuned for our our future broadcast. We're going to have some videos of the field work that we're going to be doing, and I hope we're going to try to get some callers to call in and give us their sightings. And so I wanted to turn over to Brandon here and ask him a few questions. So Brandon's my youngest staff member, y'all, by the way. He hadn't really had a chance to scout the world to get to see anything like this, but maybe with some safe planning and a little luck, he might get to. So Brandon, you're doing some researching on this Dogman yourself. Can you tell us what you're getting out of this? What are you getting out of these videos or this stuff that you're pulling up? About what you're seeing. Tell us your opinion.
They're very, very smart. Very dangerous to go out there without a weapon or without a crew. I would highly recommend a lot of smart people.
I heard that. I could agree with you on that. Have you been getting any, like, are you getting out of it like these things are pretty big?
Yeah, like 7 feet tall or more.
And I mean, it's obvious that a lot of these people that are sighting these things are talking between 7 and 10 feet, you know. But the most distinctive characteristic on any of them is the canine-like head. That's I tell you, it's majestic on one hand, but it's creepy on another. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way to say it, buddy. Anyway, it's time to end the program right now, but y'all hit that like button. This is our very first episode. Grow with us. We will grow. We're kind of new at this type of channel on YouTube and what's going on. We're not necessarily new at what we're doing with the Dogman. I mean, we are as far as knowing anything about it, but you know, we're not going into this blind. So, you know, y'all hit that subscribe button and grow with us as we get, you know, hopefully get bigger, and hopefully we can get y'all some proof. And we will see you next time here on Upright Dogs. So long.